Hello, beautiful sisters. It is episode number 57 of the When Marriage Hurts podcast. And this is the episode about Father's Day. Yep. Um, I'm still your host, Ola Davis. It's late at night that I'm recording this, so I'm just all over the place. Forgive me. But I'm your host, Ola Davis, and I just wanted to make this episode about Father's Day. Across most nations of the world, or at least in North America, I know that for sure. This past weekend was Father's Day. And it's when you're in a painful marriage with kids, Father's Day isn't the typical thing, right? I don't know what Father's Day is like for you. I don't think we particularly did an episode about Mother's Day, but anyways, Father's Day, I was just thinking today and like the day before Father's Day, because I'm recording this on Father's Day. So yesterday my kids showed me this handmade gift that they had made for their father, and they were like, "Oh mommy, we want to show you what we made for daddy for Father's Day." And I'm like, "Oh, that's you girls made that's really beautiful." And as they left, I just started to think about, as wives that are like in a very painful marriage because we're being abused by our husbands. How the I was thinking about the mental load that we carry. I think I was struggling to find appropriate words there, but I was thinking about the mental burden that we carry to make sure that our children see their father as someone who's like worthy to be admired and respected, when we in fact know that that's not the case. And that's something that you could really feel conflicted about, when you know that this person, they're not being a good husband, not to talk of being a good father. Because being a good father, being a good husband are not mutually exclusive. And I think people do get confused. I've seen women in abusive marriages say things like, "Well, this is so confusing because they treat me horribly, but it's so wonderful with the kids." Ladies, if you're married to someone who treats you horribly but somehow is wonderful to the kids, there's a reason for that. It's not because they're wonderful fathers. It's not because they love their children so much. It's because when children are still young, they are unable to see through the manipulation. They are easily manipulated, and they have a deep need for attachment. So even when they're treated horribly every now and then, they're still going to form an attachment to that person because that person is their father. And when they grow up in this twisted mindset where they begin to see abuse and love as synonymous, when they grow up in that, it doesn't mean all hope is lost. It can be difficult for them to see their father for who they truly are, but in a lot of cases they do. It could take them time, it could take them years, because the abuser is, at least the smart abusers, always try to find a way to brainwash their children to think highly of them, no matter how terrible those parents are. But some kids catch on to this pretty quickly. I know that I did with my dad. Some kids don't catch up to this until they are full-blown adults, and some don't catch on to it until they lose the good parent, the one that's actually the good parent. That's when they begin to wake up to the fact that this other parent that they thought was the wonderful fun parent was actually an abuser. And I know that as someone who's I know there are women listening to this podcast that already have grown children, so they can really relate to what I'm talking about. But for those of us that still have very young children, it's possible that there are times that you wonder if your children would ever realize the kind of sacrifices you made for them. If that describes you, well, this is what I'm going to tell you. Whatever it is that you do for your children, whatever sacrifices you make for them in your home, here's my advice. Just do it for the sake of doing it. If you are doing it for the sake of, oh, someday my kids are going to appreciate this, you might be very disappointed. Because it's not, they might, but then they might not. And when I say the sacrifices you make for your kids, I'm not talking about submitting yourself to abuse. I don't even want you to get that mixed up. If your idea of sacrificing for your kids means you're sacrificing your well-being, you're sacrificing your mental health for your children, that's not healthy. It's not good for you, and it's not even good for them. Because then you would be modeling something that's very unhealthy for them. You're basically modeling what a healthy relationship should look like. You're modeling what a marriage should look like. You're modeling what they should expect in future relationships when they are in a relationship with the opposite sex, or when they eventually get married. You're modeling to them the kind of relationship they should have with their partner. So when I say making sacrifices for the kids, I don't want you to think I'm talking about the abuse that you endure. No. Yeah, so I just wanted to clear the air on that. So when I say sacrifices, I mean other things aside from being abused. You just have to come to terms with the fact that your children might never know, and by the time they know, it might be like too late. Maybe like when we're already gone and they are already parents or grandparents themselves, right? And I've just told myself that I have to live with that. I have to gain my sense of satisfaction from something else. I have to get my sense of peace from the fact that I'm doing the best that I know for my children, and God's gonna reward me for that. I'm not doing it for them to know or for them to even ever appreciate. And I'm telling you, once I began to have that mindset, it just frees me. It really does free me. I remember there was a day that someone told me that, well, they asked me a question. They're like, well, aren't you concerned that your ex-husband is going to tell your children lies and try to twist the narrative and turn them against you. I'm like, I guess it could happen. It might not happen, but then it could, but I really don't care. And she was kind of shocked. She was like, you don't care if they ever know the true story? I'm like, well, once they're old enough, if they want to know, I could tell them, but I'm not going to lose sleep over whether or not they're going to know the truth about what happened in my marriage and their father being abusive, or if they're going to be lied to. I don't stay up at night thinking about that stuff. I guess I'm just at a point where when I say I really don't care what people think about me, to an extent that includes my kids as well. And that's not to say that I would try to be a bad example for them. It's just that I'm at a point in my life where I figured out that as long as I please God and I do the best I know to do, that's it for me, really. That's it. When we don't carry the weight of pleasing everyone in this world, then we have enough room on our shoulders to actually carry the weight that God would have us carry in this world. I don't know if I said that in a way that makes sense to you, but basically what I'm trying to say is, or maybe I should flip it around and say, when we are too bothered about what people think about us, when we're too preoccupied with carrying the burden of what people think about us, we wouldn't have any room left to actually do the things that God has put us on this planet to do. So what I'm most concerned about is doing what God has put me on this earth to do. So that's pretty much what I wanted to share about Father's Day. It's, all these traditions, Father's Day, Mother's Day, Thanksgiving, Easter, all these holidays that for some people they usually have like a tradition around it. It can be difficult for women who are separated or divorced, or even women who are still married to their abusive spouses, but things have become so difficult that those holidays are no longer what it used to be. Or maybe you're one of those that your husband makes you feel really guilty if you don't do something special, or at least have the kids do something special for him on Father's Day. I never really had that problem, but I know there are women who do. If you're in a painful marriage right now and you still have to pretend like everything is fine, you still have to even, uphold that false image of your husband in public as a wonderful father, I want you to know that I see your pain, I feel you, and God sees you too. And my prayer is that that doesn't become your entire life. I pray that you would get to a point where you're able to live a wholesome life that's not centered around propping your husband up as something that he's not. I pray that your life would become more about pleasing God than it is about pleasing your husband. Because when we're trapped in these marriages, your whole entire universe can be about how to please your husband and not set him off. I know what that's like. But I pray for you that God will give you the wisdom to flip that around so that your life can be more about God than it is about walking on eggshells around your husband, pretty much. Yeah, so that's all I wanted to say on this episode. And I do hope that you have a good week ahead. I want to say a quick shout out to those that sent me messages on social media and those that are posting on the Facebook private group as well on When Marriage Hurts. I see you. Thank you for the reviews. Thank you for the feedback. I appreciate you. If you know anyone who might benefit from this podcast, please send them a link. Just let's spread the word around, okay? And until the next time that I get to share some words with you on the podcast, I just want to say God sees you, He sees your pain, and even though nothing might make sense right now, I want you to know that you're not alone and Jesus is with you all the way. Alright, do have a wonderful week and bye-bye.